Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
serving Sandusky, Cuyahoga, and Ashtabula counties and beyond. This is Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, or stream us anywhere with the Moody Radio app, other streaming services, and at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
A group of senators are calling for a freeze on U.S. military aid to Israel. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. 9 Democrats and 1 Republican on Tuesday voted to support a resolution by independent Senator Bernie Sanders that would have given the State Department 30 days to report human rights violations committed during Israel's war on the Palestinian militant group Hamas and to freeze military aid if the State Department failed to meet the deadline. Schools in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District are closed today. Families of students in other school districts are advised to check with their local school systems before heading out this morning. And drivers in Lake County are being reminded about new cameras, which are looking for speeders and issuing citations. Police officers are now using a handheld laser camera along Interstates 90 and 271 in Willoughby Hills, which takes photos of the vehicle and its license plate and then sends citations in the mail. Sports and weather coming right up.
When CareNet conducted a national survey of hundreds of women who'd had an abortion, a stunning statistic emerged. 4 out of 10 were attending church at the time. Abortion isn't just an out there issue, it's inside the church. Making Life Disciples is an exclusive CareNet curriculum that will transform your church's response to abortion and help you become a central point of compassion in your community. Search for Making Life Disciples at care-net.org to learn more. care-net.org.
In sports, the Cavaliers' Darius Garland has been cleared to resume on-court activities after recovering from a broken jaw. And the Steelers will retain their head coach for next season. ESPN reports Mike Tomlin agreed yesterday to come back for the 2024 season. Here now is your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly sunny skies today, a high in the lower 20s. Wind chill values could make that feel as low as 13 below. Right now, clear skies across most our listening area. 5 degrees in Cleveland, 2 degrees in Akron and Canton. Ashtabula a little bit warmer, where it is 6 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
Well, blow me down. I am what I am. That's all I can stands, 'cause I can't stands no more. If you recognize these phrases, then you are ready to celebrate Popeye Day. Popeye was the star of the Thimble Theater comics, along with his adopted son, Sweepy, his girlfriend, Olive Oil, and friend Wimpy, who would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. The Sailor Man's love for spinach helped many parents get their kids to eat more vegetables, even me.
And that's your moron moment.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It is 6:03. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Happy Wednesday, 6:06 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. Cold enough for you, Daria? Miss Florida yet?
It's very cold.
Florida woman.
Yeah, Florida woman, Mrs. Warm. Like all the schools are canceled. I'm looking at my kids. You spoiled brats. When Ron was a kid, they put on their swimsuits in the cold.
Are you kidding me? The snow's like an inch deep.
Your kid's school is canceled?
Yes.
Yeah, so is Medina.
It's canceled in my community, too. I'm like,
Wow.
why?
I guess I need to check that. See if Trey's going to school today.
Somebody else, a friend on social media, in fact, a friend of the show, Rachel Scott, she said on Facebook, our kids will never know the agony of sitting in front of the television and waiting for the bottom to
scroll across. Oh, my gosh.
No, they just text you and email you. And
yeah.
My mom once sent me to the bus stop. The snow was, I kid you not, probably 4 inches deep. She's like, school's not canceled. It's fine, because she hadn't bothered to get up. And I love my mom, by the way. She hadn't bothered to get up and, like, check the TV. So I get to the bus stop. It's like 20 degrees, 4 inches of snow. I'm like, I tried calling her to say, hey, are you sure school is going on today? Can't get a hold of her. I call my grandma. I'm like, Grandma, do I have school today? And so she looked it up on the internet for me. She's like, it's canceled. So I walked home.
Oh,
come
my
on,
gosh.
Mom.
Put on your snow bibs and get out there.
Yeah, right? My kids were telling me that work should be called off. And I'm like, that's not how it works for grown-ups.
No, it doesn't.
We don't get
Work
snow
should
days.
be called out, especially in
work.
radio.
Right. There's an expectation that we be here. Now, Ron, I mean, right, in the olden days, you guys didn't even wear a jacket when it was this cold. You went backwards up the hill barefoot still.
Well, yeah, that's what we tell people. But we would get bread bags, the bags from a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
When the bread was gone, you'd shake out the crumbs and you'd keep the bag because you would put that over your sock and then in your boot because you typically kept your boot longer than you should have.
She made little galoshes out of them.
Yeah.
It's genius.
And it kept your feet, warmer and dry when the boot would leak.
See, kids these days just get their feet wet and cry about it.
Yeah.
You guys were putting bread bags on your feet.
Yeah.
While our toes fell off from the cold.
When I was growing up in Minnesota, there's like this pride in Minnesota of we don't cancel things because we're tough. And there was one time where it was dangerously cold temperatures, and superintendents of schools were kind of like, these kids are fine. So the governor had to call off school statewide.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
He was probably so mad about it. He's like, just do your job, please.
It was one of the only times I got a snow day.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up in an elementary school in Lake Tahoe in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Oh.
And so it wasn't
Wait,
cold.
just pause there. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
You grew up in the mountains of Utah.
Nope, Nevada.
Nevada. What's the difference anyway? Go ahead, sorry.
So it wasn't like frigidly cold, but it was like feet and feet of snow. And you're still going to school.
Yeah, it just takes
Put
a little
on your
longer to walk.
thermals and your snow bibs and your boots.
We're just a bunch of old people telling kids to get off our lawn, aren't we? Now, you said you wanted to tell me something on the radio today, and I don't
Yes.
know what it is, so it's a surprise.
Well, if you're not tuning into the live stream, you need to be on the live stream.
Okay.
Okay? So text live to 440-546-2255. Because someone texted me yesterday and said, Brian looks like the guy from the Capital One commercials. And I didn't know who that was. And I still don't know who it is, but I'm going to look it up for us all.
Capital One.
Let's not forget one of my son's friends says I look like Ryan Reynolds, so just picture that. Oh, I don't mind that. Look at
The
him.
versatile actor Jeremy Brandt. Who's that?
He's handsome. That's all that matters.
See him?
Brian
Look
will
at
take
that
it.
guy.
Huh?
Wow.
Wow, look it up, people. I wish we could pick up that computer screen and show the live stream, but what a handsome man.
This guy?
Guilty as charged. That guy, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yep. So
life's going pretty well for me.
life's going well for you.
I mean,
Ryan Reynolds.
It could have been he looks like a white
Capital
Steve
One
Urkel,
guy.
or perhaps he looks like Screech or something. That would be unfortunate. But I'm doing okay now. I also wanted to throw in something here and just let you all groan for a moment, and then I'll explain it.
Okay.
You guys know about this. Our friends listening and watching don't. So I'm going to be out next week. Oh, again.
Wah, wah.
Well, I was asked to go by my employer. So here's how this works.
Josh said, get out of here.
Yeah, you leave.
We needed a break from
We're
you.
sick of you. So one of our partner ministries has asked a number of morning show hosts around the country to go on a missions trip, a very quick missions trip halfway across the world. I can't say where because we had to be very cautious filling out our visas. Visa was granted, which I'm very excited about, but
no MasterCard?
No. Or Discover.
Capital One card?
No. Well, maybe.
Well.
Maybe. And so I'll tell you all about it when I get back. But nonetheless, I'm going to be out next week on a very long journey to go spend only about 48 hours on the ground in a place that needs the light of Christ. And so pray much of me because I get crabby when I'm tired and uncomfortable. And when you're on an airplane more than you're like in a place.
Yeah.
Just watch out, world. Here comes crabby Brian. And then when I get back, I'll be really crabby.
And we are still having the show next week.
We are.
Oh, yeah. You guys are doing the show. You don't
It'll be
need me.
Three Stooges.
Who's Curly? He's my favorite. Is
Ron.
that Ron?
I was going to say Ron.
So, yeah, and pray for me. It's a long journey, and it really is going to be spiritually and emotionally taking its big toll when I explain to you exactly what we're doing when we get wherever we're going. Doesn't it sound like Mission Impossible, kind of?
If you want to think of it that way.
Sure.
It's more like, awkward Brian's going to just be following somebody around somewhere. A little scared, probably.
I'd be more than a little scared.
What? Really? I should be more nervous?
Well, no. I shouldn't have said that. I'll take that back.
He's got to get on a plane in like 4 days here,
Yeah.
Ron.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
But you never know. But you're doing God's work, so you'll be protected.
Oh, look at him dial that back. You can't take it back, buddy. You're
It's
in
on
your
the
hole
internet
already.
now.
I know.
Yeah, oh boy. All right. Well, and again, text live, but watch the live stream. We've gotten a lot of great feedback, a lot of people enjoying it. Yesterday, Lauren was described by someone as unhinged.
Yeah, I was.
Just for a moment there, not
But it
for
was-
the entirety.
Right. And it was fun, unhinged, which I'm learning this is a new term, Ron.
Okay.
Unhinged to people in our age group, as in this wide demographic we both represent, sounds not very nice. Being unhinged.
Yes. Like a door that is unhinged means you've got work to do.
Yeah, but for the young people, this is a compliment.
Yeah, it's like, you're a little crazy, but not in a bad way.
Like fun crazy.
Yeah, fun crazy.
Daria, does that work with Gen Z as well?
I've heard it.
So you learned something new, Ron.
Yep.
Somebody calls you unhinged, don't get offended. Be like, whoa, thank you. Isn't that nice?
Yes. Let me put the door pins back in and I'll get back to
I
normal.
only become unhinged for Mark Lowry, NSYNC, and Lyric Legends.
Lyric Legends.
We're going to have to dial up some NSYNC here to see what happens.
Maybe Clay Cross?
Clay Cross too, yeah, absolutely.
Oh. So you actually have a long list of things for which you become unhinged.
Yeah.
All right, it's 6:14 coming up here in just a minute. We're going to shift gears a little bit. Daria had this great idea that, we're in a terrible economy right now. I'd imagine most people are pinching pennies. And we all, each family has their own way of trying to cut corners legally and and try to save some cash. And so we're going to go around the circle here as a team and kind of share some of our tips. If you have some, we'd love to hear yours as well on how your family pinches pennies in a difficult economy. 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving the electrical industry nationwide for over 30 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
Attention all high school students and parents. We invite you to visit Moody's campus in the heart of downtown Chicago, in person or virtually. Experience life as a Moody student by scheduling an individual visit to campus with your family. We are excited to welcome you to learn more about whether Moody is right for you and your student. Meet with an admissions counselor and sit in on class in person or through Zoom. Schedule your campus visit today at moody.edu/experience-moody.
It's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. This is why so many people are joining MediShare right now. MediShare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly health care costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. MediShare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
621 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. Don't forget the Walk-Worthy Men's Conference is coming up Saturday, March 2nd at Canton Baptist Temple. We'd love to see you there. If you're watching online from somewhere outside of Northeast Ohio, schedule a trip. I mean, it's where all the cool guys go from around the world. That's a little dramatic.
At least
Just
around
a
the
little.
Northeast Ohio area.
Yeah, well, watch out. It's pretty big time. So text WALK to 440-546-2255. We're going to do a lot of different things. There's a number of surprises to share with you in the days ahead about things we have planned. But nonetheless, I can tell you two things, that Dr. Mark Jobe and Dr. Nick Gatsky will be preaching. So text WALK, get your tickets, and we'll join you there. We had a listener named Lana who just tried to see if she could make Lauren be unhinged, like trigger her to be unhinged in one of her triggers, which is Mark Lowry. But she sent a picture.
She did.
It's not the pictures that makes you go unhinged.
No, it's his songs.
Okay, nice
Not
try,
including Mary Did You Know. That's not an unhinged song. But
And if you don't know what we're talking about, go check out our Facebook and our YouTube.
Yeah.
But Mark Lowry is a co-writer of Mary Did You Know, the Mary Did You Know.
Right.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mary Did You Know that he wrote that.
And see, Ron and I have a thing with this song. Can I pull you under the bus on that? Or are you not totally there with me?
No, I kind of like the song.
I mean, I like the song, but
Just
she
go
knew.
under the bus by yourself.
Most of it she knew.
Yeah.
And so she'd be a little annoyed by the song, I think. It's like, hey, guys, I knew.
Yeah, well, she'd be annoyed by the little drummer boy too, okay?
Exactly. Ron's going to get mad at you for that.
You don't have a newborn right now, Ron. Oh, I don't want any drummers around me.
Yeah, come on in. My infant's sleeping. Bang on your drum. Harder. Bang on the drum. Goodness sakes. I'll get over it till next Christmas.
No,
Okay?
you won't.
Fine, that's true.
Anytime Little Drummer Boy is mentioned, you will ignite.
I become unhinged in the unhealthy way, not in the millennial way.
Right.
Okay. All right, so it's a terrible economy. Folks are trying to cut corners to save cash. It's a tough time of year. I just had to refill my propane tank out in the country, and that's never a small expense. So it's kind of like, turn down the heat. But I wanted to see what our tips are, because maybe we'll help somebody out. If you have tips, you're welcome to text them to us, 440-546-2255. This was the lovely Daria's idea, so I'd like to start with Daria. You may have some great tips on this.
So for starters, I try to do as much homemade as I can. Like, I don't always have time, but like if I can make bread from scratch, I'll do that. I know.
Are you kneading dough at home?
Yeah,
Wow.
And does that actually save money?
it does. Yeah, because
Okay.
I mean, loaf of bread is like $2 or $3 for, just pennies. I can make 2 or 3 loaves.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when you have all the flour's really cheap. Just throw it all together.
I wonder what that tastes like, Ron.
If I
Oh
made
my
it, it would be
God.
bad.
Me too, but I bet hers is good.
I bet it is.
Maybe I'll bring some in sometime. I can make more.
Oh,
that was
That's
generous.
exactly what he was going
What do you
for.
mean? I don't know what you mean.
But another one I recently started doing, so I started shopping at Aldi more, not a sponsor, but I think things are generally cheaper there, but not always. So what I'll do is I'll actually pull up the Walmart app, because they'll tell you pretty accurately at your specific Walmart what the prices are. So I'll stand there in Aldi and compare. And then if something's cheaper at Walmart, I'll just go there next.
It takes more time, but if you really get careful, I mean, yeah, a lot of retailers will cut prices on some things and make up for it on others.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention, you could really get taken to the cleaners there, so to speak, or the grocery store in this case. Yeah. Is that your primary stuff for now?
And I was talking to Jimmy last night too, if he had any tips, because he actually used to work for an accounting office, and his big thing was like, just don't eat out. Seriously, it's so expensive.
It is.
It's so expensive, and it's true, and it's so much more convenient now with things like DoorDash and all that, which just moved to the country. They don't go there, but I mean, it's so convenient and yet so expensive. All right, Millennial Lauren.
Yes.
What is I'd imagine you're pretty cheap, aren't you? No, you're the spender.
No, I'm not. I am not the spender. Thank you very much.
Eddie's the spender.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so then what are your money-saving tips to rein in brave Sir Eddie there?
I don't try to rein him in. He does our finances, so I trust that if he's spending it, he knows that we have it.
Well, that's a sweet deal for him.
As we've discussed, I make my own broth, especially in the winter because you're making a lot of soups.
Well, and it also, if you're making a big pot, right, it can warm the house and humidify the house. And,
Yeah, I
right?
guess that's true. So I'll do a whole chicken, and that'll last us. And I have a small family, obviously. but that'll last us like 3 days or something. And then I'll use the bones to make broth, so that's going to save money in getting broth. I do similar to Daria. I go to Meijer and Aldi, so I'll check between the two as I'm doing my shopping and try to save money that way.
Mm-hmm.
I check what meats are on sale and then do a meal or two around that instead of just like thinking of the meal and then buying that meat.
Right. So you're doing it based off of the sale as opposed to your tummy.
That's right.
Stomach. Sorry.
Yeah. Or I'll buy like meat in bulk, like at Costco, and then just use that from the freezer instead of like continually buying meat over and over again.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, that whole chicken lasting 3 days, I remember when I was in college, I was really hungry and I bought a whole chicken, put it in the crock pot, ate the whole thing. So when your boys get older,
yeah,
good luck with that.
Yeah, it's true.
Is that your list?
That's my list.
Ron?
I've got first something that's not a money saving tip, but maybe a marriage saving tip.
Okay.
If you're going to not eat out as often, gentlemen, learn how to help clean up. You know, if you're expecting your wife to do the cooking, and she probably wants to do the cooking so that it's edible, then at the end of the meal, pick up the plates, scrape the stuff into the garbage can or into your food dispenser if you've got an incinerator thing. Rinse off the dishes, put them in the dishwasher, or if you don't have a dishwasher, sudsy water, and there you go. But, you know, if you're going to save money by not eating out, you better save your marriage.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, now my money saving tip. My wife has always been good at this, but she's got like an ecosystem of families that are related. You know, it's really her best friend and their family and then our family extended. But anytime somebody has, you know, they make a change in their decorating, and I've got an extra couch, I've got an extra armchair or table or lamp or any of those kind of things, everybody gets told about it. And so we're always shifting things. And so you don't have to spend $100 on a lamp or, you know, $75 for a little, you know, chair stand or something. It's, you know, you get the used stuff from someone else, but it's new to you.
That's cool.
You enjoy it for a while, and then, you know, it's almost like the old musical chairs, you know, somebody blows the whistle and everybody runs. Well, we just blow the whistle and change your furniture.
There you go. That's good. That's your list?
Yeah.
All right. So for me, we've always done a budget on a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet, because it's free. You can go pay for a fancy app, but if you're pinching pennies, how about just use a spreadsheet? We also have 2 separate checking accounts, not for each person. I don't recommend that. We have what we call in our family a bills account and a grocery account. So the bills account is quite literally where we have all the automatic payments for all the bills come out of. Okay. And then we take whatever we budgeted for, like, you know, anything from groceries to shampoo to whatever the extra expenses are. That goes into the other account, and you can it's an automatic transfer every month. And that helps you monitor your spending a little bit better. And you know when you're starting to run out of money. And they're free at banks to get another account. No big deal. And if you use the same bank, you're suddenly switching. It's easy to transfer money back and forth to everything.
Nice.
Get chickens. If your city allows it, it does save time and money. I wouldn't recommend having as many as I do. We have 20 and they eat a lot, so you'd be spending a lot on feed. But if you have just a couple, you can have enough eggs for your family. We have far more than we could ever use at the moment, which is to all your benefit, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
I suggest doing kind of what Ron's talking about, like, and you all said don't go out to eat, but I would say you got to replace it with something, because often that's what date nights are for couples, is like you go out on Friday night or something. You need a consistent routine where you're going to still have that quality time together, or else you're just going to give up and go out to eat just because you feel like you need a date. One of the things my wife came up with, which is so great, is we've made our bedroom kind of like our sanctuary, so to speak, where we got like adjustable beds. They're like hospital beds, but we can actually, we put a TV in our room and we can sit up in bed and we can watch a show together, and we close the door and the kids have to knock if they want to talk to us.
Okay.
And we just took a few days to get the routine going. We said, knock, get out of here. What are you doing? And now we really have this separate space where we can do our thing and they're not bothering us. And that helps us not go out. Turn down the heat. I know I don't like it either, but having your heat at 68, 65 and just bundling up, you can save money that way.
Right.
My wife, if you're listening, Sarah, you're kind of right. Learn how to do repairs yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bathroom, we had rotted out flooring because our previous owner put the toilet in wrong. It was disgusting. I was not going to pay the cost for labor to come in and do that. So guess what I did? I got YouTube, I took out my tools, and I got dirty and was not happy, but I did it myself and saved a lot of money. YouTube, I don't know how people, Ron, in your generation and older, survived without YouTube.
You'd have a couple of books that were, handyman's guide.
I'm out. There's something about watching somebody do it in real time that makes it so much easier, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
So you got to start doing repairs yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Got to. And then also see if you qualify for public assistance. I know that Christians cringe at this for some weird reason, but it's there for a purpose.
Yeah.
So, for example, you may be surprised to learn that you qualify for free and reduced lunch for your kids if they're in public school. Fill out the form. It's not embarrassing, and you might be able to save a ton of money on those school lunches. Other one, if you have small children, if you haven't seen if you qualify for WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, I don't know what your problem is. You could save a boatload of money because they provide formula. They provide fresh fruits and vegetables. Sarah and I were on WIC. Maybe you think that's bad. I don't. It was a huge saver for us. You might even qualify for public assistance when it comes to health care. Another option would be, we used to do this where a couple of friends at church, our families would get together, we'd use the church kitchen, and we'd do bulk cooking. We'd all come up with a list of recipes for a month, make giant portions, quadruple, quintuple recipes. Everybody divides it up, freezes it, and now you got a bunch of meals at a fraction of the cost.
Right.
That's cool.
That's smart and fun.
Yeah.
It actually is pretty fun. And then my wife also did for a while something called Easy Meals. I don't know if it's still around, but there's things online where you can actually have it give you a recipe. You give it, I think you even tell it how much you want to spend. It gives you recipes, puts them onto a menu for the week, and spits out a grocery list at the retailer you want to go to.
That's cool.
So you can say, I want to go to Whole Foods and spend all my money, all of it, and I'll go into debt. Or you could just say, I want to go to Aldi, or you want to go to Mark's or whatever, and it'll populate a grocery list. And Sarah did that for a number of years, and it was great. We didn't always love the meal, but if you're struggling to make ends meet, who cares?
Yeah.
It fills your belly. All right.
I just thought of another one.
Oh, good. Go.
On Facebook, there's groups for moms. It's Cleveland Mom, Pass It Down.
Oh.
So if you're done with all your baby stuff, you just say, I have all this 0 to 3 month clothes. Who wants it? And someone just comes and gets it. Or you're done with your baby swing or a baby carrier, all kinds of stuff.
Buy nothing groups are big right now,
Yep.
too.
Yeah, find them. They're called Buy Nothing groups.
Yeah.
Okay, search for those
In your
find-
area, yep.
And have no shame. It's actually, I think, a really great way to save money. Who cares if it's gently used?
Right.
I don't care. 6:34, time for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit and begin talking a bit about something I know that a lot of you struggle with. We've talked before about how to deal with, as an adult, with difficult parents. What about the reverse? How can parents of adult children keep them from walking all over them and being rude? There's some good tips here from Psychology Today. We'll get to them in a minute.
I'm John Kersey, and this is Pause for Prayer. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said this: "Keep on asking, and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And everyone who knocks, the door will be opened." Ask, seek, knock. Those actions sound so harmless and so easy, but behind these words is the intent of Jesus. Keep asking. Continue seeking. Don't quit knocking. This is not a cookbook recipe, but the target attitude we should have in our prayers and in our lives. We must be persistent and faithful. Let's pray today. Holy and righteous Father, Thank you so much for the many prayers that you have answered. Thank you, dear Father, for answering my prayers to be more like Jesus. I confess that I'm still very far from His perfection, but when I look at the distance you have brought me in the past, I can view the future only with excitement, knowing that you will lead me onto becoming even more like Him in the future. Also, God, rather than making persistence our key to acquiring and achieving for ourselves, let us remember Jesus' example in the Lord's Prayer. The focus there is on God's will, His kingdom and His glory, and our most basic needs, daily bread, and on overcoming sin through forgiveness and deliverance. And as Jesus stated in the Lord's Prayer, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Help us to keep on asking, seeking, and knocking. In Jesus' name, we thank you and ask you for that continued grace. Amen.
Walk worthy. The Apostle Paul encouraged us in Ephesians 4 to live lives worthy of the callings we receive from God. And we at Moody Radio Cleveland want to encourage you to attend Walk Worthy 2024. Don't miss speakers Mark Jobe and Nick Gatsky on Saturday, March 2nd at Canton Baptist Temple. To register now, text WALK to 440-546-2255. That's 440-546-2255. Send the word WALK.
If you have at least 10 years of experience in education administration or enrollment, please listen. The Moody Bible Institute is hiring a Vice President and Dean of Student Enrollment Services to lead the marketing, recruitment, and retention efforts for Moody's undergraduate, seminary, and aviation programs. Help us prepare the next generation of students to fulfill their godly calling. Learn more and apply online at moodyjobs.org. Enter keyword Vice President. That's moodyjobs.org, keyword Vice President.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
6:38. We're live streaming the show. Got a lot of feedback from that. And we'd positive feedback, by the way.
Yeah.
We'd love for you to join in. You can watch from home or wherever you're at. Or you can watch later on today. All you have to do is text the word live to 440-546-2255, and we'll send you a link. Or just go to YouTube, and you can just type in Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, and it'll, will come up, and you can subscribe. What do the kids say? Slam that subscribe button?
Smash it.
Smash? I mean, you can just click it. Or smash that subscribe button so you never miss a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's as we talk in just a moment about adults and their parents, and parents getting kind of walked all over sometimes by their adult children. I think it's worthwhile chatting about the phases of growth and development over time. And I kind of, this is probably a thing somewhere else, but as I processed it, when you're a little kid, your parents are invincible. Like dad is the strongest person you know. Mom can fix anything and do anything. And her kisses make the boo-boos feel better.
Yep.
And then you grow up a little bit and they're annoying. And you become a teenager and they're total idiots. Your parents just have no clue what they're talking about. They're out of touch. And then maybe, let's just say you get married. Not that marriage is the pinnacle of everything, but let's just say you get married. And you kind of go, well, maybe they're not so bad. They're okay. And then you start to struggle a little bit in your marriage and go, wow, mom and dad, they're pretty great. And then you get to this phase, I would say, where you kind of go, wait a minute, maybe they have stuff they didn't do quite well. And as you do more self-discovery as an adult, you start to realize some of your idiosyncrasies and things that are causing conflict in your marriage are things you learned from your parents. And you get kind of annoyed with them again, like you're a teenager, right? And you're like, maybe you go to counseling and you're like, how did this happen? My parents? Now, I know it's an easy thing to blame your parents, but quite frankly, I have to accept as a dad that my kids are going to have to go to counseling because of me. I've joked around in the past that they ought to have counseling insurance. That parents, instead of just like fund their college, just fund their counseling. Because some of it will be your fault. You're doing your best. But I think you ought to grow out of that phase. A lot of people don't, but I think there's a situation where we have to start extending grace and forgiveness to our parents and say they were doing their best. I messed up too, and I'm going to mess up my kids. Now you extend grace. But I think a lot of people never go past that phase. You're agreeing with me, Lauren.
Yeah, I think there has to come a time that you say, my parents were doing the best that they could at the time with the resources they had, whether that's money resources, emotional resources, or mental resources. They were doing the best that they could. And you have to just trust and believe that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's cruel to presume your parents are some sort of sociopaths that intentionally tried to hurt you.
Yeah, when I look at like myself as a parent now and see what my day-to-day looks like and think back to my parents, I'm like, oh, I get it. They were doing the best that they could.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the best that I can.
And you need to resolve that. If you've got some outstanding issue that, you know, you're disliking your parents about something, you need to resolve that because they will not be here forever.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll be wishing you could go talk to them. They're just not available.
As my series, The Grandfather Effect, makes pretty poignantly, even though that sounds really pompous to say it, it's mine, but you know what I mean. Like, we found out the hard way, I guess is the better way to put that. And it's a challenge because I remember I was in a small group at church, and I'm going to be as anonymous as possible because this friend of mine listens to the show regularly. I was kind of carrying some guilt about my own kids and stuff I'd messed up. And I talked to him. He's got grown kids. He's an empty nester. And as we were chatting about parenting at one point, he looked at me and his eyes welled with tears, and he said, you know, I got a lot of regrets with my kids. And then I said, hey, would you mind getting together once? I'd love to talk to you more about that. And he was able to bare his soul to me later, just about emotionally so, with some mistakes and regrets he had about how he raised his kids and how he's working hard to make it right. And that so resonated with me. And it was meaningful because I felt not alone, you know? And so with that in mind, and I say this because so many of us are not in the team. Only Ron is in the position of having adult children. My 18-year-old daughter, Grace, if you're watching, you're an adult technically, but not literally, okay? There's this great piece from Psychology Today about how to stop allowing an adult child to walk all over you. Because if you're carrying around that guilt, I mean, Ron, I bet you have regrets.
Yeah. And fortunately, last summer, when the boys were back from Portland, I was sitting down with my youngest son and some of his friends, and something came up, and I started to apologize for something that I had done. I said, I really wish I had not treated it this way or whatever. And he stopped me, and he goes, you were doing the best you could. You didn't intend to hurt me, and I didn't take it that way. So, and I was like, wow, very gracious.
And I bet that was cathartic for you to even voice it. Some people are not capable of that without some help and counseling. They just aren't able to say, I did this and I hurt you and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So I admire that about you, Ron. Thanks for that. And your son. You're a great dad to have him so quickly, because he's in his 20s, isn't he?
Yeah, 29.
Wow. It's almost as mature as Daria in terms of emotional development. But this piece has some advice on how to do this, because I think it's the parenting guilt that causes parents to let their adult children walk all over them. They don't know what to do. So here's how it starts. Adult children, especially those who are emotionally struggling and lack the ability to have calm, constructive conversations, may walk all over their parents. These adult children assert undue control, manipulate, or take advantage of their parents emotionally, financially, or in other ways. This can strain the parent-child relationship, eroding boundaries and mutual respect. It often involves a lack of consideration for the parent's needs, feelings, and autonomy, and leads to an unhealthy dynamic. And here's some examples the psychologist who wrote the piece give about what this can look like. He said, Jose told me he reached his breaking point when his 33-year-old daughter, Kim, said, I thought I could count on you, but obviously I can't. Fine, I'll just end up homeless.
She's how old?
33.
33.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Grow up, Kim.
Now, we can say this, but I can guarantee you somebody listening right now is going, oh my goodness, that's my kid. How about this one? Joey, 23 years old, sent this text message at 1 a.m. to his mom, Julia. Mom, I need $2,500 to invest in this really dope music opportunity. For real, I got this. Julia, I'm sure, collected herself and responded, Joey, how about you first help me know more about what this is all about? She's not saying no,
Right.
even though
Good
if
for
my
her.
kid was like, I got this dope music opportunity, give me $2,500, I'd be like, and no. She's like, just tell me more. Here's how he replies. I can't say the first part. So he kind of goes, something rude and offensive. Mom, don't you even trust my judgment or anything? This is the one thing that can improve my life, and you don't care at all.
Drama.
What?
Now, I know, sweet, sweet Lauren. You'd never imagine texting that to your mother, but we all know people who would do this. And I've heard of parents, like in agony, get these kind of things from their kid. Their kids are just taking them to the cleaners, trying to get money all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So now Julia's in this position where she feels like, if I don't give my son $2,500 for this dope music opportunity.
Well, what was the first thing he said?
He said,
There was an exclamation and then...
Mom, don't you even trust my judgment or anything?
Right. Okay. Shouldn't she use her judgment with her money?
She
Can't
should.
he trust her judgment with her money?
I mean, maybe she coddled him for years and that's something she has to own. But at the end of the day, she's faced with a choice. It sounds like her son is really saying, give me $2,500.
Or else.
Or else. And or else is, relationally, we're done in some measure. Or I'm withdrawing my love from you in some way. And for a mom, that's hard.
Yeah. As a dad, I'm pretty cut and dried. I'd be like, Joey, you've never
Sorry,
paid
Joey.
a penny back that I've lent you before. Why
Well,
should I
Joey-
trust your dope instincts now? I would be a dope to trust you.
At least you've got your mother.
Yeah.
If one of my sons came to me like that at 20, I'd be like, sorry, find somebody else. Not me. That's not going to be me.
And I feel like that's the case. However, I can look at my daughters now and they've got daughter powers.
Oh, they do.
Now, son, for some reason, the son part's different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could do this to me. And I'd fold. So how do you keep your adult children from walking all over you? We'll look at the psychological advice, see what we think of it here, coming up in just a moment.
The news changes. God's Word doesn't. And that's what we're about at Moody Radio. If you feel anxious because of the constant stream of negatives, go to moodyradio.org/resources. There you'll find blogs by Dr. Michael Rydelnik of Open Line, Bible verses that will help you overcome fear, audio, video, and more. Go to moodyradio.org/resources right now and find encouragement and comfort. moodyradio.org/resources.
When CareNet conducted a national survey of hundreds of women who'd had an abortion, a stunning statistic emerged. 4 out of 10 were attending church at the time. Abortion isn't just an out there issue, it's inside the church. Making Life Disciples is an exclusive CareNet curriculum that will transform your church's response to abortion and help you become a central point of compassion in your community. Search for Making Life Disciples at care-net.org to learn more. care-net.org.
On your way to being faithful, God does some pretty extraordinary things.
Bible teacher Crawford Loritz of Living a Legacy.
The only reason why God gives any of us a platform is to give that away and to serve other people, and it just fills my heart with great joy.
Join Crawford Loritz for Living a Legacy.
Listen Saturday at 7:30 p.m. That's Living a Legacy, Saturday evening, 7:30 here on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
6:50, we're going to give away tickets today to a bunch of tickets today, Lauren.
3 tickets.
You are feeling generous today.
Wow-wee.
So we're going to give away 3 tickets, Lauren says, to the Walkworthy Men's Conference coming up between 7 and 7:30. So be sure you're listening in. Why not more precise? Because I don't quite know when we'll get to it. But we will get to it. And if you don't want to wait for that, you want to buy them, just text the word WALK to 440-546-2255. It's Saturday, March 2nd. Saturday, March 2nd, Canton Baptist Temple, Dr. Nick Gatsky, Dr. Mark Jobe, a couple of surprises that we'll announce later.
And if you get a group of 10 or more, Every ticket is $5 off.
Oh, wow. Talk about pinching pennies.
Mm-hmm.
Force all your friends to come with. Save money. Or invite them. You could do that too, I guess. So if you're just tuning in, we were chatting about a Psychology Today article about how to stop allowing an adult child to walk all over you. And we painted the picture of how, at the surface, you might be like, what do you mean let them walk all over you? I think it happens far too often. And adult children listening, if you're constantly feeling angry at your parents and resentful, get help. It's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to honor your parents, and if you're carrying those feelings, you've got to work through them in counseling, or you're going to be a nightmare of a child for your parents. You don't have to be their best friend.
Yeah, the only one of the 10 commandments that has a condition on the end is honoring your father and mother so that you will have long life.
Right. And there's no question, God knew this already, but modern psychology and medicine indicates that carrying those kind of feelings all the time is detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
So get it together. But, so how can parents keep from getting walked all over, adult parents of adult children? There is no such thing as child parents. Parents of adult children. First of all, it says, take off that kick me sign. When your adult child tries to engage you through shaming and guilt with pressuring and demands, when your adult child is emotionally abusive, or when they fail to acknowledge your love and or the positive things you've done for them, you have to set boundaries and say no more. No more beating yourself up for your past mistakes. Especially followers of Christ listening. If you're constantly feeling guilty about mistakes you made that have affected your adult children, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's bad theology. For those things, Christ died. Work it out with the Lord, go to counseling, release yourself of the guilt and shame. You did the best you could.
There are no perfect parents, so you're in good company.
But trust me, I know. I spent a long time beating myself up about a particular parenting situation where I feel like I totally failed. And my dear friend, I've said this before, she looked at me and said, I'm so sorry you feel that way, but don't you know that's terrible theology? It's terrible theology. Jesus died for that. Preach the gospel to yourself. I felt like she was going to go, dummy, but she didn't because she wouldn't say that to me. Next piece of advice on the take off the kick me sign, no more being a punching bag for your child's displaced disappointments and frustrations. Like, don't let them do it.
Right.
Say, listen, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that happened, but I don't want to listen to this right now and I won't. And if you can't stop, I'm going to hang up. I love you, but I'm hanging up. No more comparing yourself to other parents who are not experiencing the same struggles. It's hard to do that.
And they might be. They just don't talk about it.
Right. Super personal question. You don't have to answer it. Your Trey struggled with so many allergies and issues when he was little. Did you ever kind of have those feelings of, it's not fair that that person over there has this little perfect baby that sleeps all night and has no allergies?
Yeah, all the time.
Did you?
Yeah, I felt that all the time. He was a really, really hard baby, and it felt not fair that I had this really hard baby and my friends didn't.
And now, for a lot of people, they can hide their struggles better with their kids because it might show up that their marriage relationship's struggling, but their baby seems to be perfect or something. Or maybe that perfect baby's going to struggle as a teenager and your kid won't. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you can still do this as well when you see, maybe the perfect extended family photo on social media. Why can't my adult children be more like that? Remind yourself, you're not seeing the real story.
Yeah.
You're not. I think every family has its measure of struggle.
I'm sure they do, yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to bear your dirty laundry here, but I'd imagine you talked about how great your son was in terms of his response to your confessions of mistakes. I'm confident you and Dana carry some pain and some conflict with your kids.
Yeah, there are things that were bad times and where we thought the family was just falling apart.
Really?
Yeah. And you're like, I don't see a choice here. Usually you can look and you say, okay, this is the way to go. And this was like no easy path. But it's resolved now. Whatever that problem was, it's gone. Thank God.
Thank you for sharing that, Ron. Because, people picture you in particular. You're so easygoing. If you meet Dana, she's the life of the party. Literally, she has been at our staff parties. People go, I bet they never struggle. Ron's son extends him grace. Listen to these perfect people. No, you've been at that moment with your wife where you're like, I think it's all going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So you're not alone.
There were nights I slept on the couch in the basement.
You?
Yes.
Vanished to the basement.
Yeah. It was after my parents had passed and we had their house. It was still getting cleaned out and stuff. She wanted me to go there and take one of the sons with me.
Oh.
And I wasn't going to leave the house, so I went to the basement instead.
And we can laugh about it now, but that was rough.
Yeah, for about a week.
Ron, thank you for sharing that. I have to bring up too we were doing a silly segment the other day. Somebody commented on social media. They said something like, Christian radio sure has changed. And my response to Lauren off the air was, yeah, we're not faking it anymore. The days of us pretending like everything's perfect and our lives are perfect, we don't do that because it's not real.
No.
Christians laugh and have fun, and Christians also go through what Ron brought up. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, we're just real people.
Yeah, surprise. Sinners who need Jesus.
Oh. Amen.
Another piece of advice for adults who their adult children are kind of walking all over them. Embrace your guilt with curiosity. Sit with your guilt feelings about your adult child and explore them with curiosity instead of judgment. Many situations are more complex than they first appear. Owning up to mistakes is important. It's equally important, however, to say no more to unnecessary blaming yourself for things in your adult child's life, including their choices that you can't control. And that's so true. As my kids get older, there's a measure at which I have to remember that God has absolute control and sovereignty over their lives. And no matter how hard I try, they still have choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily due to my bad parenting that they make a bad choice.
Right.
But we let ourselves believe that.
Yeah.
Ron?
Oftentimes we try to do the train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it, and claim that as a promise. It's not a promise, it's a probability. And just the same, the opposite. They may depart from it. You could do your best to train them up, and they may choose to go the other way, and it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's within them, and it's up to them to, their relationship with Christ is them. You can't grandfather them in.
Yeah, and I know I certainly, as like a teenager, I would hear my parents' voice kind of ringing in my head when I was supposed to make a decision, and I would choose the opposite anyway, because I thought I knew better as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So again, your kids' choices are not your fault. You certainly can own your portion of it, and you can only get that view, I think, when you do what they're saying, which is embrace your guilt with curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Pull back a little bit, get a wider lens, ask the Lord to help you, and I think that'll help. The next one's obvious. Forgive yourself. Self-forgiveness is a key component of self-compassion. And you're going to let your kids walk all over you if you're beating yourself up all the time and not forgiving yourself. And if you're struggling to do so, get in counseling. Meet with your pastor.
Yeah.
Meet with a mentor. One time I was carrying a lack of forgiveness for a choice I made when I was in college, and I really hurt a good friend. I actually made an appointment, met with my pastor, confessed my sins to him, and asked him to remind me about my forgiveness in Jesus. Mm-hmm. He didn't forgive me as in like he has some sort of superpower.
Right.
But I needed to hear that I'm forgiven. And I think that's something Protestants don't remember all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really cathartic exercise. The Bible says confess your sins to one another. Because sometimes you need to hear someone say you're forgiven.
Yeah.
And it really did release me in a sense. Anybody else ever done that? I know it's a little weird for evangelicals to talk like that, but the Bible says to do it, so.
No, that would be weird.
Thanks, Ron. Any final tips you can think of on how to make sure you're not letting your adult children walk all over you? Any other tips? I know Daria and Lauren, it's harder for this because you're the people walking all over your parents. Just kidding. Not you too.
Yeah, it's a tough time of life if you're going through that, but you have to be strong. you're not helping them. You think you're helping them because they tend to be whiners like Joey and Kay or whoever the examples were earlier.
Right.
And they're going to try to lean on you and be like, well, if you don't do this for me, you never loved me. You never let me. Remember in 6th grade, you wouldn't buy me those shoes? And ever since, they'll whine you to death. Don't accept it. Let it roll off your back because it's not true. It's not your fault. And do what you think is right.
Yeah.
That's emotional blackmail. Good relationships aren't built on that.
Mm-hmm.
Daria, she does that.
Yeah.
You won't hear from her for a minute. And then she pops in with the best comment. Thank you, Daria, for that. I think we can also, as a gentle nudge / rebuke, I would say, Sarah and I learned from a psychologist, and we're really working on this one. Your kids don't owe you anything. They don't owe you anything. I know that can sound crazy, but I've seen the difference in what that looks like. There's a couple I know in their 70s. They have 2 kids but no grandkids yet. I've never seen them whining about it. I've never seen them bugging their kids about it. They don't think their kids owe them a thing. And so they're just cheering for their kids and whatever God's guiding them to do. And I've seen other grandparents / parents, right, of adult children whining all the time to their peers. My kids don't call me. My kids don't do this. My kids don't do that. They're adult children. They don't owe you anything. Am I crazy, Ron? You don't like that one?
No, I don't like that one as much.
You can ruin your relationship if you treat your adult children like they owe you something.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're expecting them to pay you, so to speak,
they owe you
in something. No, but I think you've got a right to be disappointed if they don't reach out to you.
Of course.
If they don't bring you grandchildren, like mine have. Well, my daughter. I'm waiting on my boys, but.
Yeah, but I follow what you're saying. Of course, you have a right to feel your feelings, but the kids don't owe you anything. All right. Yep. Lauren's telling me it's time to go. 7:03, Mornings with Brian. We got Ron's news here. When we come back from the break, it's time. Would you rather? We have another Would You Rather. They're so fun. You could play along from where you are. Crank up the radio in a few minutes. It's the game you played as a kid. Would you rather do this or this? And you pick. We'll play along in just a few.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The Supreme Court is declining to hear a case about an Indiana high school's transgender bathroom policies. It's 7:04. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. A lower court ruled students are allowed to use restrooms according to their gender identity. The Indiana School District had appealed the ruling to the Supreme Court. Some Ohio lawmakers are working to address the threat of fraudulent AI-generated content. The measure legislators are considering would expand existing laws related to fraud and sponsorship to offer protections for people who are subjects of deepfakes. And a recent operation looking into human trafficking in Canton has led to 16 arrests. The Ohio State Highway Patrol says it collaborated with various law enforcement units last Thursday, which focused on finding human trafficking operations and identifying victims of human trafficking in the Canton area. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
You don't have to put your life on hold to get your degree from Moody Bible Institute. Moody offers flexible online classes that feature a unique ministry-focused education. Study the Bible and theology anytime, anywhere. You'll benefit from the world-respected faculty and a connection with classmates from around the globe. Invest in your future and get your bachelor's or master's degree from Moody Online. Learn more at moody.edu/online. That's moody.edu/online.
In sports, the Cavaliers' Darius Garland has been cleared to resume on-court activities after recovering from a broken jaw. And the Steelers' Mike Tomlin, according to ESPN, has agreed to come back for the 2024 season. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly sunny with a high near 22, and the wind chill values could make it feel like 13 below. At last check, clear skies, 4 degrees in Cleveland, 2 in Akron and Canton, 4 degrees in Lorain, Elyria as well.
It's time for your moron moment.
Well, blow me down. I am what I am. That's all I can stands 'cause I can't stands no more. If you recognize these phrases, then you are ready to celebrate Popeye Day. Popeye was the star of the Thimble Theater comics, along with his adopted son, Sweepy, his girlfriend, Olive Oil, and his friend, Wimpy, who would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. The sailor man's love for spinach helped many parents to get their kids to eat more vegetables, even me.
And that's your Moron Moment.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:07 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.